Chapter 1: The Foundation of Loving Kindness, Nurturing a Compassionate Heart. In this chapter, we embark on a journey into the transformative power of loving kindness, or metta. Loving kindness is not merely a fleeting emotion, but a way of life that brings inner peace and extends harmony outward to those around us. Here, we'll explore the roots of this gentle yet powerful practice, how it shapes our inner landscape, and its impact on our actions and relationships. Through the story of Thomas, a young teacher who discovered the healing essence of metta, we learn that loving kindness begins with the self. As we embrace this practice, we can experience the profound changes it brings to our lives. Loving kindness, or metta, is more than a momentary feeling. It's a gentle force that can grow into an unshakable part of who we are. Imagine waking each day with a heart free from burdens, not weighed down by yesterday's struggles or anxieties, but instead filled with a sense of calm resilience. Loving kindness is like a flame that starts small but, with nurturing, becomes a bright and steady light guiding us in all we do. It reaches into every interaction and thought, extending peace to ourselves and others. For many, loving kindness begins as a wish or a quiet hope. In the beginning, it can feel empty or forced, especially if we're used to carrying resentment, stress, or frustration. Yet, the beauty of metta lies in its gradual transformation of our inner world. With practice, the wish becomes genuine compassion, turning reactive impulses into understanding, and frustration into empathy. This journey from thought to action can fundamentally change how we experience the world, leading to a softer heart and a gentler approach to life. Consider Thomas, a young teacher who found himself weighed down by the demands of his daily life. Pressures from work, family, and his own high expectations often left him feeling disconnected and frustrated. His days grew increasingly stressful, and he wondered if he had lost the kindness he once felt toward himself and others. When a friend introduced him to metta meditation, he was unsure whether silently wishing himself and others well could make a difference. Despite his doubts, he decided to give it a try. Each morning, Thomas would sit quietly and repeat simple phrases: "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be peaceful." At first, the words felt hollow, but he continued, gradually extending these wishes to his family, his students, and even those he found difficult to understand. Over time, he noticed a change. His mornings felt less rushed, his patience grew, and the little frustrations of life didn't seem to shake him as they once did. Slowly, he realized that loving kindness was not about changing others, it was about transforming himself. Through Thomas's journey, we see that loving kindness begins within. When we nurture compassion in ourselves, we create a wellspring of goodwill that naturally extends to those around us. Loving kindness doesn't require grand gestures, it starts with small, intentional acts of gentleness toward ourselves. Like Thomas, we can begin each morning with a quiet intention of kindness, allowing it to ripple through every encounter. As we practice, metta becomes a steady part of our inner life. Each morning, remind yourself, "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering." These simple words become a balm, soothing and comforting our hearts. When we're ready, we can extend this kindness to others, starting with those closest to us and gradually including everyone we encounter. Even strangers become recipients of our kindness. And in doing so, something within us begins to shift. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on how the practice of loving kindness influenced your actions. Did it bring more ease to difficult situations? Did it soften your heart in ways that brought you closer to peace? In these quiet reflections, We begin to appreciate the power of metta and understand how it has the potential to transform our lives. Loving kindness may be simple, but within its simplicity lies a profound power, a quiet resilience that changes our lives through the gentle strength of an open heart. It's not just about finding peace, but about becoming peace. Letting kindness flow into every moment and every action. And as we walk this path, we carry with us the Buddha's words, radiate boundless love toward the entire world. Above, below, and across. Unhindered. Without ill will. Without enmity. May the practice of loving kindness bring you deep peace, happiness, and liberation. Chapter 2, Thoughts Become Actions, Cultivating a Loving Mind. Our thoughts are like seeds. What we plant in our minds, we ultimately grow in our lives. It's easy to overlook the power of a single thought, but each one influences how we speak, act, and even perceive the world. If we nourish thoughts of kindness, our words and actions will reflect this gentleness. Over time, these patterns shape our character, leading us toward a life that feels purposeful and peaceful. Loving kindness begins as a thought, but its impact ripples outward, touching every part of our existence. Consider Maria, a busy entrepreneur who always felt pressured to succeed. Her days were packed with meetings, emails, and constant stress. And soon, these worries began to consume her thoughts. Maria felt caught in a cycle of negativity, and each day felt heavier than the last. One evening, while feeling particularly drained, she attended a meditation class on loving kindness. The instructor introduced the idea that our thoughts could be acts of compassion, an insight that struck Maria deeply. She realized she had been harsh with herself, judging each perceived failure and obsessing over perfection. Determined to make a change, Maria began each morning with a simple affirmation, "May I be kind to myself. May I be kind to others." As she went about her day, she tried to pause whenever she felt stressed or frustrated, gently reminding herself to approach situations with understanding. At first, it was difficult to change her inner dialogue, but with practice, Maria noticed her thoughts began to soften. She started treating herself with the same compassion she extended to her loved ones, and her life transformed. Maria's story shows us that loving kindness begins with a shift in thought. Instead of pushing ourselves with criticism, we can guide ourselves with encouragement. When we make the conscious choice to fill our minds with compassion, it naturally influences our words and actions. We find ourselves speaking with more kindness, responding with more patience, and acting with greater empathy. Each day, we have a choice. We can let stress, anger, and judgment rule our minds, or we can make a commitment to cultivate loving thoughts. The process may be gradual, but with each gentle reminder, we strengthen our capacity for compassion. As our thoughts change, we begin to notice a shift in how we interact with others. Our words become gentler, our actions more mindful, and over time, we create an environment of peace within ourselves and around us. In this way, loving kindness becomes a foundation upon which we build our lives. The Buddha taught that what we think, we become. By nurturing a compassionate mind, we cultivate a compassionate life. When we actively cultivate kind and loving thoughts, we start to see how much power our minds truly have. Imagine going through the day with an inner voice that supports rather than criticizes. This simple shift can make every challenge feel lighter and every interaction feel more meaningful. And as we practice, this voice of compassion becomes stronger, guiding us through difficult moments with calm and clarity. Maria discovered that by consistently choosing thoughts of kindness, she was not only changing her own experience, but also affecting the people around her. Her colleagues began noticing her calm demeanor, Her friends found her easier to talk to, and her family felt more connected to her. When we are gentle with ourselves, this kindness flows effortlessly into our relationships, creating deeper bonds and bringing warmth into every exchange. Loving kindness is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about choosing to meet life's challenges with a heart that is open and a mind that is patient. In our thoughts, we create a safe space for ourselves to process emotions, to feel whatever we need to feel, and to respond with understanding rather than reaction. This compassionate mindset gives us the resilience to face obstacles without losing our inner peace. As we continue this practice, it's helpful to remember that the journey of loving kindness is a gradual one. There will be days when we slip back into old patterns of judgment or impatience. But each time we catch ourselves, we have an opportunity to choose kindness again. Loving kindness doesn't demand perfection, it asks only for sincerity and consistency. It reminds us that every thought is a chance to reconnect with the gentle strength within us. In the quiet moments, we can begin to recognize the beauty in these small shifts. Each time we choose compassion, we align more closely with the person we truly want to be. Our actions start to mirror the loving thoughts we've cultivated, creating a life that feels true to our values. With time, loving kindness becomes not just something we practice, but something we live. A guiding light that shapes our path. Through Maria's journey, we see that the power of loving kindness lies not only in its effect on our thoughts, but also in the way it transforms our relationships and experiences. As we nurture this compassionate mindset, we are not just creating a kinder world within ourselves, we are also building a foundation of peace that radiates outward, touching everyone we meet. Each time we choose a loving thought, we are planting seeds for a life filled with peace, resilience, and joy. This path of loving kindness is not just a practice, it is a gift to ourselves and to those around us. A quiet yet powerful reminder that we have the strength to create a life rooted in compassion. Chapter 3: The 11 Benefits of Loving Kindness, Gifts of the Heart. Loving kindness, or metta, is a practice with profound rewards. The Buddha taught that there are 11 specific benefits of cultivating a loving heart, each of which enriches our lives and strengthens our inner peace. These benefits are gifts of the heart, and they remind us that when we embrace kindness within, it flows outward, transforming the way we experience life. The power of loving kindness is not merely in the words we say during meditation, but in the way it reshapes our minds, influences our well-being, and brings calm to those around us. The first benefit is peaceful sleep. When we approach life with kindness, the heart rests more easily, free from the disturbances of resentment or worry. Consider Sarah, a mother of 2 who struggled with sleepless nights. She often found herself lying awake, replaying difficult conversations or worrying about the day to come. But as she began practicing metta each night before bed, she noticed her mind settling into peace. She would repeat, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful." Gradually, the tension within her faded, and she drifted into sleep with a calm heart. Through her story, we see that loving kindness prepares the mind for restful sleep, allowing the body to truly rejuvenate. The second benefit is waking up with joy. When we fall asleep with a heart softened by kindness, we wake with a sense of lightness, ready to face the day. This joy is not dependent on external circumstances, it arises naturally from within. When loving kindness fills our thoughts, we begin the day without the weight of yesterday's worries. Just as Sarah discovered, waking with a heart of kindness brings a fresh perspective and a calm readiness to embrace whatever the day may hold. The third benefit is freedom from bad dreams. With a peaceful heart, even our dreams reflect tranquility. Those who practice loving kindness consistently find that their dreams, once filled with fear or anxiety, become gentler, This inner peace extends to our subconscious, allowing us to rest without the intrusion of disturbing thoughts. A heart filled with kindness also draws warmth from others. Which brings us to the fourth benefit, being pleasing to human beings. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate kindness, as it creates a welcoming, comforting presence. When we embody loving kindness, we foster harmony in our relationships, making us more approachable and strengthening our connections. The fifth benefit is being pleasing to non-human beings. Loving kindness isn't limited to our interactions with people, it resonates with animals and all forms of life. A person with a kind heart exudes an energy that animals and nature sense, creating a bond of mutual respect and calm. Imagine walking through nature, and rather than feeling separate, you sense a quiet connection with every creature. Loving kindness opens the door to this harmony. The sixth benefit is divine protection. When our heart is filled with genuine kindness, it is said that we attract the blessings and protection of benevolent beings. This does not mean that life becomes free of challenges, but rather, it assures us that we are guided and supported as we walk the path of compassion. The seventh benefit of loving kindness is immunity from harm caused by fire, poison, and weapons. This protection is often symbolic of the inner strength that kindness cultivates. A heart that harbors no ill will becomes resilient, standing strong in the face of adversity. Just as Sarah found peace in her relationships, she also discovered that her newfound calm provided her with emotional protection, reducing the conflicts she once faced. The eighth benefit is a mind that easily becomes concentrated. A mind filled with kindness is free from the distractions of resentment and anger, making it easier to focus and remain centered. When we cultivate loving kindness, we create a stable mental foundation that enhances our ability to meditate and to concentrate on tasks with clarity. The ninth benefit is a pleasant facial expression. Inner peace and kindness naturally soften our outward appearance, reflecting our calm and compassionate nature. Those who practice metta regularly often find that their face becomes more relaxed and inviting. People are drawn to a kind heart, and a serene expression becomes a visible sign of the peace within. The 10th benefit is dying with a clear mind. When we live a life of loving kindness, we approach the end of life with peace and acceptance. A heart free from regrets and grudges faces death without fear or confusion, making the transition gentle and filled with calm. The 11th and final benefit is rebirth in the Brahma world, a realm of beings who embody the highest virtues of kindness, compassion, and joy. Even if we do not attain full liberation in this life, the practice of metta can lead us to a peaceful rebirth, surrounded by beings who share this compassionate spirit. These 11 benefits are not distant promises, but tangible transformations we experience as we cultivate loving kindness. Each one is a step toward a life filled with peace, resilience, and joy. Through the practice of metta, we plant seeds of kindness within, and as they grow, they bring a harvest of deep and lasting happiness. Chapter 4: Liberating the Mind, the Role of Loving Kindness in Inner Freedom. Loving kindness, or metta, is not only a source of peace but a pathway to liberation. When we cultivate loving kindness, we create space in our minds, allowing us to release the burdens of anger, resentment, and fear that often weigh us down. This process of inner liberation helps us let go of thoughts that keep us trapped in cycles of pain. True freedom isn't about escaping life's challenges, it's about facing them with a heart that is grounded in compassion. Let's take the story of Daniel, a man who spent much of his life carrying the weight of past hurts. Growing up in a challenging environment, Daniel often felt anger and resentment toward those who had wronged him. As he became an adult, these feelings continued to linger, creating barriers in his relationships and preventing him from feeling truly happy. His life felt like a series of struggles, and he often wondered if he would ever find peace. One day, a friend introduced him to the practice of metta. At first, Daniel resisted, finding it difficult to wish well for those who had caused him pain. But as he continued, he began to understand that loving-kindness was not about forgiving others for their benefit, but about freeing himself from the grip of resentment. Slowly, he started to repeat the phrases of metta: "May I be free from suffering. May I be happy. May I find peace." Over time, he extended these wishes to everyone in his life, including those who had hurt him. As Daniel continued this practice, he felt a shift within himself. The anger that had once clouded his mind began to lift, replaced by a sense of calm he hadn't felt before. By letting go of resentment, he found himself liberated from the chains of his past. He realized that by holding on to anger, he had been imprisoning himself. Through loving kindness, he was able to open his heart, and in doing so, he tasted true freedom. Daniel's story reminds us that loving kindness is a journey of self-liberation. When we cultivate metta, we create a sanctuary within, a place free from anger and pain. This sanctuary becomes our refuge, a space we can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. And as we practice, we strengthen our capacity to meet challenges with patience and understanding. Loving kindness doesn't erase life's difficulties, but it transforms how we respond to them. It reminds us that we have the power to choose compassion over anger, even in the most difficult situations. With each act of loving kindness, we break down the walls of resentment, creating a mind that is open and free. This inner freedom allows us to live with a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what happens, we have the strength to remain calm and centered. The Buddha taught that freedom from suffering begins with the mind. By releasing anger and cultivating kindness, we unlock a profound inner peace that carries us through life's storms. Loving kindness is not only a practice, it is a gift we give ourselves, a way to reclaim our peace and embrace the world with an open heart. Through metta, we discover that true liberation comes not from changing the world around us, but from transforming the world within. Chapter 5: Building Strength and Resilience Through Compassion. Loving kindness, or metta, is often seen as a gentle force. But within this gentleness lies a strength that can endure life's greatest challenges. While compassion might appear soft or passive, it is, in reality, a powerful form of resilience that allows us to face hardship without losing our inner peace. When we cultivate loving kindness, we build an unbreakable strength that carries us through difficult moments, making us both strong and compassionate. Consider the story of Laura, a mother who faced years of personal and family struggles. Her journey was filled with obstacles, financial challenges, health issues, and the demands of raising her children. There were many times when Laura felt overwhelmed, her heart weighed down by the stress of her circumstances. But through it all, she held on to compassion, not only for her family, but also for herself. She realized that being kind to herself in difficult times didn't mean ignoring her responsibilities. It meant giving herself the support and patience she needed to keep going. Laura's practice of metta became her strength. Each morning, she would sit in quiet reflection, repeating the phrases of loving kindness: "May I be strong. May I be at peace. May I find resilience within." These simple words became an anchor, grounding her and giving her the courage to face each day. When life felt overwhelming, she would return to her practice, allowing kindness to renew her spirit. Over time, Laura discovered that the more she embraced compassion, the stronger she became. Her challenges didn't disappear, but her heart grew resilient, and she found an inner power that could not be shaken. Laura's story teaches us that true resilience is born from compassion. When we treat ourselves with gentleness and understanding, we build a foundation of strength that can weather any storm. Loving kindness doesn't mean that life will be free of hardship. It means that we have the inner resources to meet hardship with grace. Through metta, we cultivate a spirit that is both soft and strong, a balance that allows us to face challenges without losing hope. In our daily lives, we often think of resilience as the ability to keep pushing forward, no matter what. But resilience born from loving kindness is different. It's not about forcing ourselves to endure, it's about supporting ourselves with kindness, allowing us to move through difficult times with a sense of peace. When we cultivate compassion, we build a deep-rooted strength that sustains us, helping us stay grounded even in the most challenging moments. This strength isn't limited to ourselves. As we develop resilience through metta, we become a source of support for others as well. Our compassion radiates outward, creating a ripple effect that brings comfort and encouragement to those around us. Just as Laura's resilience inspired her family, our own practice of loving kindness can uplift those we encounter, giving them hope and courage. Ultimately, loving kindness teaches us that resilience is not about being unbreakable, but about being unshakable in our commitment to compassion. It's about holding on to kindness, even when the world feels harsh. With each act of loving kindness, we strengthen our heart, allowing us to face life with a courage that is rooted in love. Through metta, we discover that resilience is not a force of will but a quiet, steady strength that grows from within. Chapter 6: Bringing loving kindness to our relationships. Loving kindness, or metta, has the power to transform not only our inner world but also our relationships. When we approach others with compassion, we create connections rooted in understanding and empathy. Metta becomes a bridge that allows us to meet others without judgment and to see beyond their actions to their humanity. It softens conflicts, deepens friendships, and heals wounds in ways that words alone cannot. Let's consider Mark, a father who had drifted apart from his teenage son, Ethan. Their relationship had become strained over the years as misunderstandings and unresolved conflicts built up, creating an emotional distance between them. Mark wanted to reconnect with Ethan, but every conversation seemed to turn into an argument. Frustrated and feeling helpless, Mark decided to try a new approach. He began practicing loving-kindness meditation with his son in mind. Every morning, Mark would close his eyes and repeat quietly, "May Ethan be happy. May he be safe. May he feel understood." At first, the practice felt awkward, and Mark wondered if it would make any difference. But over time, he noticed a shift within himself. He approached conversations with Ethan more calmly, listening without the need to react defensively. The metta practice helped Mark see his son with a renewed sense of compassion, allowing him to appreciate Ethan's struggles as he navigated the challenges of adolescence. One evening, as they sat together watching a movie, Ethan opened up about some difficulties he was facing at school. Instead of offering advice or judgment, Mark simply listened, allowing Ethan to express his feelings without interruption. This simple act of presence, grounded in compassion, created a moment of connection that they had both missed. As the weeks went by, their relationship began to heal, not through forced conversations, but through small acts of understanding and patience. Mark's journey shows us that loving kindness is not about trying to change others, it's about changing how we relate to them. When we cultivate compassion, we meet others with acceptance, seeing them as they are, rather than who we want them to be. This shift in perspective allows us to let go of expectations and to approach our loved ones with empathy, even when we don't fully understand their choices. Relationships thrive in the presence of loving kindness. When we practice metta, we become more present, more patient, and more willing to forgive. Conflicts no longer feel like battles, they become opportunities to learn, to grow, and to reconnect. Loving kindness softens our hearts, making space for others to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. Metta also allows us to find compassion even in difficult relationships. There may be people in our lives with whom we have unresolved pain or hurt. Loving kindness invites us to approach these relationships with a sense of understanding, not necessarily to mend or reconcile, but to find peace within ourselves. By holding these individuals in our thoughts with compassion, we free ourselves from resentment, creating room for healing to occur naturally. Through the practice of metta, we bring peace not only to our own hearts but also to the relationships that matter most to us. Each act of kindness, each moment of patience, strengthens our connections and allows love to flow more freely. We realize that relationships are not defined by perfection but by the willingness to show up, to listen, and to love without conditions. In every relationship, there will be times of joy and times of challenge. Loving kindness helps us navigate both with a steady heart. It teaches us that true connection doesn't come from controlling or changing others, but from accepting them with compassion. And as we bring metta into our relationships, we create a foundation of trust, understanding, and respect that nurtures lasting bonds. In the end, loving kindness is the gift we give to those we love. It is a commitment to show up with an open heart, to forgive, to understand, and to cherish each moment we share. Through metta, we learn that love is not about perfection, it's about presence, a willingness to be there for others as they are, and to support each other's journey with compassion. Chapter 7: Extending Loving Kindness Beyond Ourselves, Compassion for All Beings. Loving kindness, or metta, extends beyond personal relationships to embrace all beings. True compassion knows no boundaries, it reaches out, encompassing not only friends and family but also strangers, animals, and even nature itself. When we practice metta at this expansive level, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all life. We realize that just as we seek happiness and peace, so does every living being. This awareness inspires a sense of unity and an appreciation for the shared journey of all creatures. Let's take the story of Anne, an artist who found her sense of peace and connection in nature, and always felt at ease when she was surrounded by trees, rivers, and wildlife. But after a period of personal loss, she retreated to nature for healing. One day, while on a hike, she sat by a stream, observing the gentle flow of water and the birds flitting through the trees. In that stillness, and felt a surge of gratitude, not only for the beauty around her, but for the life that pulsed through every leaf, every creature. She began to practice metta, repeating quietly, "May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace." As she sat there and felt her heart expand, her compassion reaching beyond herself, she realized that her grief, her joy, and her peace were all part of a larger tapestry that connected her to every living being. The practice of metta helped her find healing in her connection with the world around her, reminding her that she was never truly alone. Anne's story shows us that loving kindness is not limited to human connections. It is a way of embracing all life with open-hearted compassion. When we extend metta beyond ourselves and our immediate circle, we cultivate a mindset that honors and respects all beings. This practice helps us develop an awareness that every creature, from the smallest insect to the largest animal, shares our desire for happiness and freedom from suffering. As we broaden our practice of metta, we may find ourselves naturally treating animals, plants, and even the environment with greater care and reverence. The next time we encounter an animal or spend time in nature, we can take a moment to recognize the shared life that flows through us all. This act of acknowledgement, grounded in compassion, fosters a sense of responsibility for the well-being of the planet and all its inhabitants. When we practice loving kindness for all beings, we dissolve the boundaries that separate us. Our hearts open to a vast compassion that transcends divisions of species, nationality, or belief. We begin to see ourselves as part of a larger community of life, bound together by a common yearning for peace and happiness. This perspective fosters a spirit of inclusivity, a kindness that is boundless and unconditional. Extending metta to all beings also helps us find peace within. Often, our worries and fears arise from feeling isolated or disconnected. But when we embrace the whole of life with compassion, we find comfort in knowing that we are part of something greater than ourselves. This sense of unity brings a deep sense of belonging and eases the loneliness that can sometimes weigh on our hearts. In this practice of loving kindness, we cultivate an understanding that each being, no matter how small or distant, deserves our kindness. Metta becomes a source of strength, enabling us to look beyond our own concerns and consider the well-being of the world around us. As we walk through life with a heart open to all, we contribute to a world that is more compassionate, more just, and more connected. Ultimately, extending loving kindness to all beings transforms our experience of life. We move beyond the limits of self-interest, embracing a compassion that is vast and inclusive. We realize that, in caring for others, we are also caring for ourselves. For all life is interconnected. Through metta, we cultivate a heart that is boundless, a compassion that reaches across the universe, touching all beings with the same wish: may you be happy, may you be safe, may you be at peace. Chapter 8: The Path of Consistent Practice, Making Loving Kindness a Way of Life. Loving kindness, or metta, is not a one-time effort or a practice reserved for special moments. It is a path, one that we walk every day, moment by moment. Just as we take small steps to improve our health or our work, we must take small, consistent steps to cultivate loving kindness in our lives. This practice, though simple in its essence, requires dedication and patience, but its rewards are boundless. The story of Jim, a retired man, shows us the power of consistent practice. After years of living a busy life, Jim found himself in a quieter phase, filled with more free time and fewer responsibilities. While many would see this as a blessing, Jim found himself struggling with loneliness and a sense of purposelessness. He was searching for something to fill the emptiness that had lingered after his retirement. One day, Jim's friend introduced him to a local meditation group, and Jim decided to give it a try. At first, the idea of sitting in silence and repeating phrases of loving kindness felt awkward, but Jim was determined to stay committed. Each morning, he began his day with a simple metta practice: may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free from suffering. He then extended these wishes to his family, his friends, and even to people he barely knew. As Jim practiced daily, he began to notice subtle shifts. His mind, once cluttered with worries and self-doubt, began to quiet. His sense of purpose shifted from external achievements to an internal sense of peace and connection. As Jim continued his practice, his relationships deepened. He was more patient with his children and grandchildren, and he found it easier to forgive old hurts. Through loving kindness, Jim learned that true happiness does not come from external circumstances, but from the inner peace that arises when we nurture compassion in our hearts. His story illustrates how a consistent practice of metta can transform not only our hearts but also our entire approach to life. The key to Jim's transformation was his dedication to consistency. In the same way that we nourish our bodies with regular meals, we must nourish our minds with regular practice. Loving kindness is not a fleeting emotion, it is a way of life that grows stronger with time. And just as it can take years to develop certain habits, It takes time to cultivate a mind that is naturally filled with compassion. But every moment of practice, no matter how small, contributes to the overall shift in our mindset. As we continue on this path, we learn that loving kindness is not about achieving perfection, but about showing up, day after day, with an open heart. It's about recognizing that every moment offers an opportunity to practice, to offer a kind thought, a kind word, or a kind action. Each time we do so, we are strengthening the foundation of compassion within us. In the beginning, the practice may feel like a small step, but as we walk this path consistently, we begin to see how these small steps accumulate. They transform us into people who approach life with kindness and patience, who face challenges with an open heart, and who bring peace to every moment. Jim's journey reminds us that we don't have to wait for the right time to begin cultivating loving kindness. We don't need to wait for life to slow down or for things to be perfect. Every moment is an opportunity to start anew, to practice compassion, and to deepen our connection with others. The more consistent we are in our practice, the more loving kindness becomes a natural part of who we are. Through consistent practice, we move from simply wishing to be kind to actually becoming kind. Loving kindness becomes a living force within us, shaping how we think, how we speak, and how we act. It becomes a way of life, an ongoing journey toward greater peace, greater compassion, and a deeper sense of connection to all beings. Each step on this path, no matter how small, brings us closer to the heart of loving kindness, where we find the peace we have been seeking all along. In the end, the true power of metta lies in its consistency. It is not the grand gestures, but the daily acts of kindness, the regular moments of compassion, that transform our hearts and our world. Through a consistent practice, we create a life that is grounded in love, a life that radiates peace, and a life that is deeply connected to the world around us. Through metta, we discover that the path to true peace is not a destination, but a journey we take with each step, each breath, and each moment of loving kindness. Chapter 9: Loving Kindness and the Journey to Inner Peace. Loving kindness, or metta, is a path that leads to a profound sense of inner peace. It teaches us that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but a presence, an unshakable calm that arises from a heart filled with compassion. When we practice loving kindness, we learn to cultivate this peace within, allowing it to carry us through life's storms. As we walk this journey, we come to understand that true peace is not something we find outside of ourselves, it is something we create within. Consider Linda, a woman who always found herself affected by the chaos of the world around her. Every day, she felt overwhelmed by news, personal struggles, and the demands of her busy life. She craved a sense of calm, but felt powerless to escape the anxiety that had become her constant companion. One evening, while attending a meditation class, she learned about metta. The instructor explained that loving kindness could help her find peace, not by changing the world, but by transforming her relationship with it. Linda began a daily practice, repeating simple phrases of compassion: "May I be peaceful. May I be calm. May I be free from anxiety." At first, it was challenging. Her mind continued to wander, and her worries felt like unbreakable chains. But Linda stayed committed, trusting that each day's practice was a small step toward the peace she longed for. Gradually, she began to notice a shift. Her thoughts became less scattered, her emotions less intense. Rather than feeling consumed by the chaos around her, she found herself becoming an observer, allowing each moment to come and go without attachment. As Linda continued to cultivate metta, she realized that the peace she had been searching for was within her all along. It wasn't about escaping her circumstances, but about accepting them with a heart filled with compassion. Her practice taught her to face her challenges without fear, to let go of the need for control, and to embrace the present moment as it was. Through loving kindness, Linda discovered a calm that remained steady, regardless of the ups and downs of life. Linda's journey reminds us that inner peace is not a fleeting feeling, but a state of being that we can nurture through compassion. Loving kindness invites us to approach each moment with an open heart, to release the tensions that keep us bound, and to trust in the strength of our own compassion. With each act of metta, we create a deeper connection to the present, freeing ourselves from the distractions that pull us away from peace. Practicing loving kindness helps us see that peace is not something we have to earn or achieve. It is already within us, waiting to be uncovered. Metta is a tool that allows us to peel away the layers of worry, anger, and doubt, revealing the calm that resides at our core. As we practice, we begin to recognize that peace is our natural state, a presence that is always accessible, no matter the circumstances. Through loving kindness, we learn to carry this peace with us wherever we go. It becomes a light that guides us, helping us respond to life with patience, understanding, and grace. We no longer react impulsively to challenges. Instead, we approach each situation with a heart that is calm and steady. This inner peace does not mean that we are unaffected by life, but rather that we are rooted deeply enough to withstand its fluctuations. As we continue this journey, we find that inner peace extends beyond ourselves, touching those around us. When we cultivate peace within, we bring a calm presence into every interaction, creating a ripple effect that spreads compassion and understanding. We become a source of stability for others, a reminder that peace is possible even in the most turbulent times. Ultimately, loving kindness teaches us that peace is not something we seek, but something we cultivate. Each time we practice metta, we are planting seeds of calm and compassion within ourselves. Over time, these seeds grow into a steady presence, a peaceful heart that can weather any storm. Through loving kindness, we find that the journey to inner peace is not about reaching a final destination, but about embracing each moment with an open, compassionate heart. In the end, the peace we find through metta is a gift we give not only to ourselves, but to the world around us. It is a quiet, gentle strength that grounds us, a deep well of calm that we can draw from in any situation. Through loving kindness, we discover that true peace is not the absence of life's challenges, but the presence of a heart that remains steady, rooted in compassion. And as we walk this path, we come to see that the journey to peace is, in itself, a beautiful and fulfilling destination. Chapter 10: Sharing the Light of Loving Kindness, Being a Beacon for Others. Loving kindness, or metta, is a gift that we cultivate within ourselves, but its power grows exponentially when we share it with others. When we embody loving kindness, we become a source of peace and inspiration, a gentle light in the lives of those around us. Through our compassionate presence, we can uplift others, guiding them toward their own path of peace. In this final chapter, we explore how loving kindness can transform not only our lives, but also the lives of those who cross our path. Sam, a schoolteacher, understood the impact of loving kindness in a profound way. Each day, he greeted his students with warmth and encouragement, and in every interaction, he showed them patience and respect. Teaching was more than a job for Sam, it was an opportunity to nurture young hearts and minds. He believed that every child had the potential for greatness, and he made it his mission to bring out the best in each one. One day, a new student, James, joined Sam's class. James was quiet, withdrawn, and often seemed troubled. Other teachers had labeled him as difficult, but Sam saw beyond the behavior to the person within. With patience and compassion, he gently reached out to James, offering words of encouragement and a listening ear. Each morning, before entering the classroom, Sam practiced a few moments of metta, saying, "May I be a light for my students. May they feel seen, valued, and loved." Over time, James began to open up, sharing his struggles and fears. Sam's consistent kindness and patience created a safe space for James to express himself. Sam watched as James slowly transformed, gaining confidence, connecting with his peers, and embracing the learning process with newfound enthusiasm. Through Sam's loving kindness, James found the support and reassurance he needed to believe in himself. Sam's story reminds us that we each have the power to be a beacon of kindness in the lives of others. Loving kindness is not just a feeling, it's a way of being. An intentional choice to show up with compassion, even in difficult circumstances. When we practice metta, we create an environment of acceptance and safety, where others feel seen, heard, and valued. In this way, loving kindness becomes a bridge, connecting us to others in ways that go beyond words. To share the light of loving kindness, we don't need to be teachers or have special roles. Every interaction, no matter how small, is an opportunity to spread compassion. When we greet someone with warmth, listen with patience, or offer a helping hand, we are embodying the essence of metta. Even a simple smile can lift someone's spirit, reminding them that kindness exists in the world. As we make metta a part of our daily lives, we inspire others to do the same. The gentle strength of our compassion creates a ripple effect, touching the lives of those around us and encouraging them to embrace loving kindness in their own way. In a world that can sometimes feel disconnected, these small acts of compassion are powerful reminders that we are all connected by our shared humanity. By sharing metta, we become part of a larger tapestry of kindness, a network of compassionate souls working together to create a world rooted in love and understanding. Each time we practice loving kindness, we are contributing to a collective effort to bring peace and healing into the world. This is the beauty of metta. It does not end with us, it flows outward, touching lives in ways we may never fully realize. In the end, loving kindness is not something we keep for ourselves, it is a gift we give to others. And as we continue to walk this path, we find that the more we give, the more we receive. Through metta, we discover that true fulfillment comes not from what we achieve, but from the kindness we offer to the world. Our lives become beacons of light, illuminating the way for others, reminding them that peace and compassion are always within reach. As we close this journey of loving kindness, let us carry forward the Buddha's timeless wisdom, radiate boundless love toward the entire world. Above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity. May our lives be a testament to this boundless love. And may we each be a source of peace and joy for all beings. Through metta, we become part of something greater, a community of kindness, a world illuminated by compassion, and a legacy of love that lives on in the hearts of others.